We are continuing in Proverbs chapter 10. We only did 2 verses last time, so let's continue on with verse 14. Wise men store up knowledge, but the mouth of a fool invites ruin. Running off at the mouth. Hey, I'm just going to speak everything and tell you everything I want to tell you. Okay, a fool, first of all, when you're speaking, it's hard to listen. But second of all, when you just throw things out there, there's no thought to the consequences or how that helps or hurts other people. There's no ability to take in new information and new options. You're just blathering words. And we want to make sure we're speaking generally, but specifically right now, protesters and counter-protesters are shouting at one another. There's no storing up of knowledge there. There's just words pouring out, blathered to the sky, and actions which are often horrid and occurring. The wise man here takes things in and stores it away to be analyzed, to be understood, and then brings it out as a pearl, as knowledge which is gained, which has been processed, which has a discernment has been made whether this is good or bad. And then after the processing, this gift, this pearl, is brought back out. So a wise man should be listening, and a wise man should be treasuring. When you store something up, you put it in a safe place so that it can be accessed later. Be nice if the people, again, in these situations right now, were listening to each other and cherishing some of the wise words which have come out in these times. 15. The wealth of the rich is their fortified city, but poverty is the ruin of the poor. Well, there you go. So ultimate security is found in God. It's not found in the walls, right? But if you are living in a gated community right now and you have your own guards and the city around you is in crises, you feel pretty secure. You have built up a safe place. Now there's going to be some other proverbs which are going to talk about whether you actually feel secure. But in wealth, you can buy a certain level of security. This is a reality. I had my son Seth ask, why are there so many police in this neighborhood? I said, because there's people with a lot of money here. And they have the money to afford to have lots of police. And because of this, sadly, this neighborhood, not sadly, this neighborhood is safe, but this neighborhood is safe. And those places where they can't afford police, where they're in poverty, they get preyed upon. They can't afford the protection. That's the second half, right? In poverty, you have no safety from those who want to do disaster to you. You can't hire good lawyers. You can't have your own bodyguard. You're stuck trying to defend yourself with very few resources. And so it is the ruin of the poor. You go to the inner city neighborhoods and those places where jobs are rare and money is tight, and they're scary, right? That's how it is. So what do we draw from this? Well, we're not trying to draw a wealth inequality equation, but what we are saying is that if we want to help our neighbors, the poor, if we want to have them have security as much as worldly possible, first of all, they will have godly security if they know God. But if we want them to have worldly and earthly security, then we need to help them, and they need to work their way out of poverty. Here in the United States, those things can happen. Some parts of the world, that does not happen. If you're in India and you're in the lowest caste, they say you're supposed to be in the lowest caste. You're going to suffer poverty and all those depredations. And in these riots, not helping out those who are impoverished as we burn down businesses, which were placed into areas where people needed those jobs and needed opportunities, were extending this cycle of poverty rather than helping people out of this cycle of poverty. So, moving on. 16. The wages of the righteous bring them life, but the income of the wicked brings them punishment. Remember when Jesus says it is easier for a rich man to go through the eye of a camel than for a rich man to enter heaven? I got the quote there, a little confused, but you got it. You know which one I'm speaking of. The wages of the righteous bring forth life. I remember when my wife's uncle passed, and we went to the service, and they spoke about how in his business, he looked out for his workers. They really felt like family. And his business grew and flourished. And it went through some hard times, but it grew and flourished. And the people there at the funeral, you realize, loved him and his wife. Those who had been part of his business loved him because he was a righteous man, a man who showed love in his business dealings, who attempted to follow the principles of God in what he did. Not perfect, right? He didn't earn God's grace or something, but when he had money, he used it well. And that's the point here. So I always think it's a wonderful thing when I see a Christian who has wealth, because Christians tend to use wealth well, not only in their ability to expand that wealth so that there's more opportunities for them and others, but also in their assistance of people and of the church, of helping out God's family. So the wages of the righteous bring them life. Okay? The other side, though, the income of the wicked brings them punishment. When people live these extravagant hedonistic lifestyles, there are consequences. My mom's always amazed when she sees these old rock stars still alive, because she thinks, look at how they lived. Isn't that gonna wear their body out, wear their minds out? Well, it actually does. It does not earn for you a long and pleasant life. When wealth is misused, it earns enemies. It can cause physical decrepitude. There's all sorts of consequences that can happen. They don't happen in every case, but they can happen. Certainly the final consequence is you look to your money rather than to God, you treasure your money over God, and that brings death. 17. He who heeds discipline shows the way to life, but whoever ignores correction leads others astray. So, if you're a child and you heed your parents, then you are on the path to life, and those who see you heeding your parents, they're on the path to life. If you're an adult and you live a disciplined life, discipline can either be punishment external or it can be internal. So a person who jogs, when they should, a person who eats properly, a person who listens to their doctor. I should do more of that. My wife has helped me in my discipline. A person who demonstrates an understanding of how God has set up this world and the system that we're in, and demonstrates by their life a healthy and a loving way to live, such a person shows the way to life. But when you ignore those things, the correction, either correction from God, correction from the principles or the systems that God has in place, correction from those with authority over us, that's what's happening with the rioters right now. There were peaceful marches, those would be fine, but they've ignored correction, these rioters. They have ignored the fact that they are causing disaster and crime, ruining neighborhoods and lives. The same happened with these police officers. The one person evidently had 18 IA complaints. I don't know any of the details. I just have that number. He ignored correction. And the result has been catastrophic. Okay, we are going to stop there. We'll do one more video for today, continuing with verse 18.